Good morning. Breaking news, a mass shooting inside a suburban Denver movie theater overnight. At least 14 people are dead, 50 others injured. A chaotic and terrifying scene. This morning, a 24-year-old man is under arrest. We'll have complete coverage today, Friday, July 20th, 2012.
From NBC News, this is a special edition of Today with Matt Lauer and Savannah Guthrie, live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
Not the kind of news we want to bring you on a Friday morning, but good morning and welcome to Today. I'm Matt Lauer.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Savannah Guthrie. What a horrific scene in Colorado. Breaking news, a tragic story. Witnesses say a gunman walked into a showing of the movie The Dark Knight Rises, released some sort of gas canister, and then opened fire on the crowd.
This happened at 12:30 local time, Denver time. It's a suburb of Denver called Aurora, only about 10 or 12 miles to the east. Police say 10 of the victims died right in the theater, 4 others at local hospitals where the wounded are being treated, trauma centers. The alleged shooter, again a 24-year-old man, was arrested at the scene. Investigators found a rifle, a handgun, and at least one other weapon in his car, as well as a gas mask. And this morning, his home is being checked for explosives. So far, Aurora's police chief says there is no evidence of any additional shooter. And this really, I mean, when you think about it, this film, it's a highly anticipated movie. It was a crowded first showing. There were lines to get into this theater, and only about 30 minutes after the movie began, some people dressed in costume to go to this showing, because that is what happens during movies like this. The door bursts open, a guy in a costume. Some people might have thought it was just a stunt that was part of the movie until the shooting began.
And many people said that they thought initially that it was part of the movie when they heard those shots ring out. Again, 14 dead confirmed at this hour, at least 50 injured. And we should mention that the president has been notified by his chief terror advisor, John Brennan, this morning at 5:26 a.m.
Let's get more from the scene. KUSA's Jace Larson is with us by phone. Jace, good morning to you.
Good morning, Matt. So I am actually at the scene of an apartment complex where it is being searched at this moment. We believe SWAT team is out here. If I can try to set the scene for you, because I know we're on the telephone. Think of a city block. It's blocked off on both sides by police cars, and it's in the very center of the block, I believe, is kind of where we're seeing the SWAT team staging there. We haven't seen them actually go into this apartment complex at all. We're just seeing them kind of staging out there, waiting. We're also not sure whether or not there is a concern inside the building, whether they're just checking things out. We're told they're asking people to evacuate the area, but we don't know how many people are being asked to evacuate.
And this is the result of the fact that, according to reports, when this alleged gunman was taken into custody, Jace, he told police that there might be explosives in another part of the theater. He might have some explosives components in his car and at his home.
You know, when we talk to people on scene here, they have a look of grave concern on their face. When we first got here, someone said, it's not safe for you to be here. There are explosives here. We've since inquired more about that, and we're told that they are investigating whether or not there are explosives here. We want to pass along the information to our viewers as quickly as we get it, but we'll be honest, right now we're still trying to learn as much as we can out here.
And Jace, I just want to tell our viewers, I don't have the footage I can show you now. Hopefully we'll get it, but we did see some footage earlier this morning. It was taken from a helicopter, and it was looking down at the parking lot of that movie theater complex, and it showed a police robotic vehicle going through a white sedan vehicle that was parked in the parking lot. The trunk was open, the doors were open, and here's the footage right now, that robotic vehicle taking things out of the car. It is, you would have to believe that police think this is the suspect's vehicle, and they were checking it for weapons and explosive devices. We understand that that suspect was arrested close to that vehicle in the parking lot of that movie theater complex.
it's one of those things where we're just learning information. You would believe that that is what's happening out here at the scene there. You would believe that that's the vehicle that they are most concerned about here. But information is still coming in. The numbers have been going up throughout the morning.
Right.
I believe that they've stayed at the current levels that they're at now for some time, but it's certainly possible that those could grow as well. The only way to say it is that this is still developing out here. And I can tell you, when we talk to the officers, again, I'm at the apartment complex, people have a look of grave concern on their face.
And we should say, Jace, that just to give people an idea of how chaotic the scene was as police officers, first responders, got to that scene, we have reports that police officers were carrying some of the victims from that theater, severely wounded victims, placing them in the back of their squad cars and taking them themselves to local trauma centers, not even waiting for ambulances to get onto the scene. That's how severely injured some of those people in that theater were. Jace, stay tuned. Go ahead. If you have something to add, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, and that certainly is what we're hearing from witnesses around the area as well. That's why you can account for 10 people who died actually at the theater, and then there were 4 others who died at local hospitals.
All right, Jace Larson, thank you very much.
We want to talk to Jacob King. He was at the mall where the theater is located at the time of that shooting, and he's on the phone now with us. Jacob, good morning to you. I know you weren't in the theater. You were at the mall, but can you tell us what you heard and what you saw?
Well, I was over at the mall with a couple of friends of mine, and then we decided to head over to the Century Theater. We were all hanging out in the front, and then not shortly after we had arrived there, that's when we heard an explosion go off. And then a little bit after that, we started hearing gunfire. It sounded like fully automatic weapons going off or something like that. And then that's when we started seeing, like, the crowd of people start rushing out. They were coming through the exits. People were running out. And then we seen like people like bloodied up. Their faces were all bloody. They were laying them out on the front sidewalk there of the Century Theater. And then that's when the police started to arrive shortly after that.
Could you even venture a guess as to how many injured you personally may have seen?
Personally, I've seen at least probably 8 or 9 when just coming out of the building, and other people were over there helping them out as well.
Jacob, let me ask you, it's Matt Lauer talking to you. How long would you estimate the gunfire lasted?
I'd say approximately, it was in sessions. It lasted, the first time I heard it, it was a good 5 minutes long, and then it stopped for a second, and then that's when we heard it open back up again.
And how long was it, Jacob, until you saw the first police officers arrive on the scene?
It was, I'd say, 2 minutes, 3 minutes shortly after I had heard about the second round of fire going off.
So did the police actually enter that theater while the gunfire was still going on?
Oh, yeah. While everything was going in, they were telling everybody to clear out of the area because they weren't sure if there were pipe bombs or if they had explosives or if the guy himself was actually going to start working his way out the front of the building and start opening fire on just random civilians out there.
And were you anywhere near where they eventually apprehended this suspect in the parking lot or near the parking lot?
No, I was not. I did not actually see him apprehend him.
All right, Jacob King, thank you.
Jacob, I know you talked to somebody who was actually in the theater. What did he tell you about what happened?
Yeah. He told me that he was in actually Theater 9, and at first he said everybody was watching the movie, and then they seen a random individual come in, and it looked like he threw either like a pipe bomb or a smoke grenade, and as soon as that went off, everybody was kind of wondering what was going on, and then shortly after that, he started opening fire on everybody. And then he said after that he had seen the guy going to change his clip or whatever, and he kind of peeked his head up, looked at him, and then he said as soon as he loaded the other one, he started opening fire again on everybody.
All right, Jacob King, we appreciate your information. Stand by, if you will, Jacob. We'll come back to you in a little while. I want to go to NBC's Chief Justice correspondent, Pete Williams, who joins us now from Washington. And, Pete, I know the FBI is engaged in this, working with Aurora Police. What are they telling you so far?
A couple of notes here, Matt. First of all, they say that as far as they can tell, there is no connection here to terrorism. They say the suspect, whose name they're not releasing at this point because they're not sure about the name, that the name he has given authorities was unknown to them, meaning he was not on any kind of a watch list, he was not under any kind of surveillance. They say he's 24, born in December 1987, apparently here in the United States legally. One of the reasons that you saw the video of the people looking at his car is that he told authorities when he was arrested not only that he had explosives in his house, and you just heard from Jace Larson about that, but they also told police that he had explosives in his car. The car had Tennessee plates on it. Nonetheless, it's believed that he was living in the Aurora area. They say that he had 3 weapons, a long gun like a rifle, and then also 2 handguns, and that he also set off tear gas. You hear the witnesses talking about hearing some kind of a hissing sound after he entered, apparently dressed in black and wearing a mask. So that's what the investigation is centered on right now. We hope to learn more, Matt, in just a little bit about who he was. No word yet on motive, about why he might have done this, what his past is, what might have set him off. No indication yet of that.
And because I think you mentioned to me earlier on a special report, Pete, because this is a murder case, it will be the local officials and authorities who take the lead, correct?
Well, that's right. I mean, it's sometimes surprising to people, but there is no federal murder statute. So cases like this are always handled by the local authorities, but the federal authorities, ATF, FBI, are certainly there to help, and that's what's happening right now.
All right, Pete Williams in Washington. Pete, thank you very much. Savannah, we should mention here, for no other reason than to put some context on this, we have both seen this movie, and it is a movie filled with dramatic action sequences, lots of gunfire, lots of explosions. So you can imagine, depending on what part of the film was showing at the time this happened, the people in that theater may have been somewhat numbed to the idea that an explosion or a smoke bomb was set off in the theater, and the gunfire even initially might have seemed as if it might have been part of this movie.
That's right, and of course it goes without saying this is a dark theater. Some reports said this gunman appeared to come out of nowhere near the front of the theater, let off some kind of tear gas canister, and then began slowly working his way through the theater, opening fire on the crowd. We want to get to our NBC's Kristen Welker, traveling with the president in Fort Myers, Florida. Kristen, what can you tell us?
Well, good morning, Matt and Savannah. President Obama was notified earlier this morning, 5:26 a.m., by his Homeland Security Advisor, John Brennan. That's according to White House Press Secretary Jay Carney. And the president has just put out a statement. I'm going to read it to you. President Obama put out the statement that says, Michelle and I are shocked and saddened by the horrific and tragic shooting in Colorado. Federal and local law enforcement are still responding, and my administration will do everything that we can to support the people of Aurora in this extraordinarily difficult time. We are committed to bringing whoever was responsible to justice, ensuring the safety of our people, and caring for those who have been wounded. As we do when confronted by moments of darkness and challenge, we must now come together as one American family. All of us must have the people of Aurora in our thoughts and prayers as they confront the loss of family, friends, and neighbors, and we must stand together with them in the challenging hours and days to come. And I can tell you, Savannah, we are traveling with the president right now. We're in the West Palm Beach area. He was making a 2-day swing through Florida for campaign purposes. I just spoke with one of his advisors to his campaign who said at this point in time, they have not changed his schedule. However, they are, of course, monitoring this situation very closely. In terms of any sort of reaction from the president later on this morning, he's going to speak at about 11:30 at an event. And we expect that he will, in fact, comment on this at some point throughout the day. But at this point, no change in the president's plans, but they continue to monitor this situation very closely.
All right, Kristen Welker, traveling with the president in Florida this morning. Thank you.
I want to go back live to the scene of this shooting now, that Century Theater complex in Aurora, Colorado. KUSA's Kevin Torres is there. Kevin, good morning to you. What more can you add?
Well, Matt, good morning. You heard there from Pete a short time ago about the detonators, a possibility of detonators out there in the parking lot. And because of that, all the vehicles were left up there and people had to evacuate. I spoke with a man who was near the theater at the time and was outside, and he heard 50 gunshots, he says, between 50 and 60. And this happened over a period of 10 minutes. At that point, he said that herds of people just came running out of there, crying, screaming, and some people actually had blood on their faces and on their hands. Police are still up there. They're waiting to update us around 11 o'clock o'clock in the morning, although some people assume that this is going to come sooner. Of course, there are a lot of live trucks and other reporters up there waiting to see exactly what's going to happen. I can tell you, having been up there within this last half hour, that it is still a very active scene. You see police officers going from vehicle to vehicle, just looking around in the area. A lot of investigators up there checking to see exactly what is going on up there. We heard a lot about the person inside the theater, the gunman. What also caught people off guard, according to people who were inside the theater, is the fact that this person apparently was dressed in a costume. A lot of people who are going to this movie have been dressing up for it. So a lot of people were looking around to see exactly who is this person. Is there another person over there? What's going on? Is this part of the movie? So this is exactly what investigators are looking at right now. A lot of people are still nervous. Most of the folks who were out here, Matt, have left within the last hour. A lot of folks waiting to hear whether or not their loved ones were safe. We did talk to a few people who said that they indeed were able to get a hold of their friends and family who were inside the theater. Those are the lucky ones. Of course, thoughts and prayers go out to the families, the 14 people who did die in this shooting.
Kevin Torres of KUSA. Kevin, thank you very much.